Known as a ghastly match in Japan, Act Yasukawa vs You Chico was supposed to be a main event title match for the Japanese ladies wrestling brand, Stardom. Instead, it ended up making national news and costing one of the wrestlers their career. Early on in the match, the much smaller Act seemingly catches You Chico with a real punch to the face, to which You Chico then responds with a series of very serious punches to Act. Then it pretty much devolves into a horror show as Act gets her face smashed up. When the fight was finally broken up, Act had suffered a broken cheekbone, fractured orbital bone, and a smashed nose, which required immediate surgery. Her injuries ultimately forced her into retirement, and it became mandatory for medical personnel to be present at every match following it. For her role in the fight, You Chico was banned indefinitely from Stardom, but has had virtually no issue getting work with the country's other wrestling brands. In an attempt to catch the reality TV audience that was so popular in the early 2000s, the WWE launched their Tough Enough project, where a group of would-be wrestlers competed in different challenges live on TV in the hopes of getting a $1 million contract. One such challenge saw the contestants facing Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle in a shoot-style wrestling match. Unfortunately for Kurt, one of the contestants was Daniel Pruder, a trained MMA fighter. Pruder got Kurt into a Kimura lock, bending his arm painfully backward. Seeing that things clearly were not going the way they expected, and knowing they could not let their star lose on live television, WWE officials quickly called the match in Kurt's favor, claiming he had pinned Pruder during the lock. Both wrestlers tell wildly different stories of what really happened that night, but even the official who called the pin claims that it was done to save Kurt Angle's arm and pride. Big Van Vader was a wrestler of massive proportions who had a tendency to strike his opponents with real punches every once in a while. It just so happened his opponent, Stan Hansen, was also a giant man who had a habit of doing the exact same thing. When they faced each other in 1990, the two men started out swinging at each other with all they had in them, with Vader seemingly getting the upper hand until suddenly reeling back in shock and pulling off his mask, revealing to the horrified world that his eye had fallen out. While you would assume the match would end there, instead Vader decided to push his own eye back into his head and went right back to swinging like a madman, only pausing every once in a while to push his eye back in as it kept popping out while he was being hit. This continued on for an agonizing 12 minutes until the match finally came to a natural finish. Vader required surgery to save his eye. Considering the dangers that wrestlers put themselves through day in and day out for years on end, it is actually quite surprising that so few performers die while doing it. As rare as it is, unfortunately, it does happen though, and on the night of the WWE's Over the Edge pay-per-view in 1999, Owen Hart paid the ultimate price for his career in a stunt that went horribly wrong. At the time of the incident, Hart was playing a character known as the Blue Blazer, a superhero type character that was played up for laughs in his appearances. Owen was supposed to be lowered from the rafters in a harness that he would detach from so he could faceplant into the ring, similar to a stunt he had pulled previously. But something went wrong and Owen was prematurely detached from his safety equipment while still nearly 80 feet in the air. He reportedly fell chest first into the ropes, which launched him into the ring in front of everyone in attendance. He was quickly removed and rushed away by medical personnel as the show continued on without him, as the audience looked on in shocked silence. It was announced shortly after to those watching that Owen had died from the fall. The Hart family sued the WWE for Owen's death and settled out of court. The pay-per-view was not shown again until 15 years later. It was heavily edited to remove the moments where Owen fell. So that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Until the next video, goodbye.